This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and tonight I'm joined by my two co-hosts for the evening. Number one, we have Big B. Big B, how are you doing tonight, my man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Wednesday's card night didn't turn out the greatest for me, but, get to come in, talk sports, get to see Callan's happy face again, and, get to hang out for Wednesday night.
All right, and then, of course, he's back, the professor of C2C, Mr. Callan McClurg. How are you doing tonight, my man?
Man, a lot better than the last week. You know, the allergies been going around. The gunk's been going around, fellas. I'm sure we've all been enduring some sort of spring fever of some type. And I'm just trying to work over, like, the sinus congestion, like that very weird, like, sinus pressure headache right now. But got to be back on board and back in the swing of things finally after kind of being bed and couch-ridden for the last, 4 to 5 days.
Well, we're all glad to hear that you're definitely feeling better. We're glad you're back on here. We have some great topics to talk about tonight. And, of course, without further ado, shall we go ahead and jump into this bad boy and talk
Let's do it.
Yep. And let's talk about some topics. So, sorry, not that one. Hold on, not that one yet. We're going to stop sharing that one. Anyways, so the first topic we have is actually an interesting topic. The reason I'm saying that is because it was kind of, the news broke today, actually, that we saw that Javon Porter, they said is going to be banned. He has a lifetime ban from the NBA now because of what they called violations of gaming policy in the NBA. So, Callan, I'll go ahead and start out with you on this one. Do you feel like, with the way that sports betting is today, everybody's betting on everything, and it came out that said the games that he supposedly, bet on, it wasn't any of his games from my understanding, from what I read. So because of that, do you feel like this fits the punishment? Like, should he have this lifetime ban?
I think I caught wind of this story last week when I was on Press Row, like my first show back after going down with the illness I've been suffering from. And I think I touched on it a little bit, but now we know more more to the story, and I'll have more about this on Press Row on Thursday at 1:00 in the afternoon. But from what I gathered, Adam, from the reports I read today on ESPN.com, is that apparently Porter had a fall guy, much like this whole entire Shohei Ohtani fiasco going on. He was making wagers while he was in the NBA G League on NBA games. Mm-hmm. So I do believe that where we're at right now, I think Adam Silver may have just probably in a way may have flip-flopped on his stance that he had about gambling being a thing 10 years ago. I think he wrote an op-ed piece in the New York Times that he wanted to become the first commissioner to come forward and say, we fully endorse gambling legally. across the country for the NBA. But now that we have had 2 gambling scenarios or snafus involving Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter recently, and now Jonte Porter, the Michael Porter Jr.'s brother. But now I think that the different link in this case is the sheer fact that Porter wagered in some way on the sport of basketball, whether he was in the G League or with the Raptors. And then I think that a betting firm in Vegas actually came out and told the NBA, hey, we have some small suspicions here about this Jonte Porter guy playing for the Raptors. What I recall reading in this ESPN story, and I'll have more about this on Press Row on Thursday, is the fact that Porter came into a game against Sacramento, played like 4 or 5 minutes, and then left the game with what was called an illness. A week later, he played a couple of minutes off the bench versus the Clippers and came out with what was called an injury of some type. So already right there, that kind of begins to maybe raise suspicious eyebrows. Then the further reporting that was done said, there's been wagers made on Raptors games. There's been wagers made on other NBA games, and that Porter did some wagering with a illegal bookie or with a bookmaker while he was in the NBA G League. So I think that right there is a bigger concern, that now you're almost looking at a Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe situation of them wagering on their sport. Now the NHL, in like a bit of a parallel, they suspended Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators half the year, a 41-game suspension for his wagering. Now, from what I gathered in that story, Shane Pinto never wagered on hockey. That's the difference. Of like, yeah, you can still give them a 41-game suspension. But now that you are at least caught in some capacity wagering on the sport you're playing in, that I believe equals the cardinal sin / death penalty / lifetime ban. If he was out here wagering on baseball or on hockey, I would say, okay, pop him a half-season suspension. But now that we're talking about player in the association wagering on games in the association, maybe wagering on his own minutes, because again, him coming out of those games early, there is some belief that he may have put a wager on his own playing self to net roughly, I think it was between $54,000 and $76,000. But at the end of the day, though, I think that Adam Silver, and I even said on Press Row last Thursday, it may take something like this to happen. Not like Ohtani, but it would have to take something like this happening where it involves a player wagering on their particular sport that would lead to a commissioner finally saying, you know what, enough of this crap. We're putting our foot down right here and right now. Case closed, end of story. And if you bet on yourself or bet on your sport, then I think that Tim's right. If you bet on your own sport, that's enough to lose your entire playing career. So sadly, good riddance, my friend. Way to screw it up.
Yeah, this is kind of where, like, I understand that, him betting on his own, sport is wrong. I'm not saying that what he did was right. But what I'm looking at here is that you look at the Pete Rose scenario in MLB, and people are talking about, should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? With the lifetime ban, should he be, have this lifetime ban from baseball? Should he be in the Hall of Fame because he bet on games, but it wasn't, his own team? It was and so when we look at that, it's like, should we feel the same way about Javonte? Because now I know Javonte isn't going to be nowhere near Hall of Fame. He's too young for that, so we can't even talk about that. But if I'm just saying, like, you look at the Pete Rose thing and people are kind of backing Pete Rose thing, so he bet on games. Like, should we feel the same way about Javonte at that point?
I mean, I want to interject because I see the parallel you're drawing as well, Adam, in regards to, Pete Rose bet on baseball, Jonte Porter's bet on basketball. Sadly, I kind of think we're in a new era. And I know I use that phrase a lot when I talk about, this new era of college athletics, for example. But I think nowadays, though, with how it's at our disposal, because we have these damn devices in our hand that we're always glued to, that we can literally sit on the couch, put down a wager on the Raptors to lose a game to the Celtics or the Bucks, that now I think that's where I think the line kind of gets drawn, is that Pete Rose did it one way in that era, but now this new era, though, where, again, we have heard about interpreters in baseball illegally wagering in a state like California, where I've called home for almost 30 years. You can't legally wager out here. I don't know what the bylaws are in Canada or in Toronto, but I know that, like I said on Press Row last week, it was going to take one commissioner to have something like this come up involving a player wagering on his particular sport. They would have to do something. Where, again, I don't think you want to have a similar Ohtani PR nightmare on your hands if you're the NBA. And I think Adam Silver said, I'm not going to deal with this nonsense. And that's why I think he put his foot down. But certainly, Adam, you're very, very, very valid with your comparison about, well, Pete Rose did this too. Jonte Porter's pretty much a NBA G leaguer. He's a, backup center. Like, he's not going to, and I think in our opinions, he won't, value out to anything. But now, I just think, though, 2024 gambling is worse than what it was in the 80s, honestly, at this rate.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Like, don't get me wrong. I wasn't saying that I condone what
Right.
Javante was doing. Rules are rules. I get it. I'm simply, and I'm glad you kind of saw the point that I was trying to make. It's like, if people are backing Rose, then you should probably kind of back Javante.
And not just that.
Yeah.
What were people doing to Shoeless Joe Jackson? Like the other big notorious gambling issue that we've had in professional sports. I mean, if you want to talk boxing, that's a whole separate issue about, hey, money's in the bag. I'm going to go get knocked out in the first round, but I got my paycheck. But, like, what about Shoeless Joe? Like I said, I think I brought this up when we talked about the Ohtani situation for the first time, either on C2C at night or on Press Row, is, okay, what about Shoeless Joe? What about Pete Rose? What about where we're at right now? But I do, though, Adam, I am fully on board to back your thoughts, though, about, well, if it's one way for this guy, why is it this way for Pete Rose, too, or even Shoeless Joe? I absolutely agree.
Yeah, and that Ohtani thing still gets me, and the reason I'm saying that is because I feel like MLB is going to take a blind eye and kind of look away because it's Ohtani. That's why. All right, that's just my opinion, but Big B, what are your thoughts on the whole Javante Porter situation?
For a young kid to get involved in that and do, what he claims to do, and again, could he be covering up for somebody or somebody covering up for him? I mean, like you guys said, it's kind of like the Ohtani thing. I mean,
there's a fall guy somewhere.
Exactly. So for him to get a lifetime ban as of right now, I mean, who knows if it could be flipped around, but I mean, everybody's probably going to be comparing this to Ohtani's, deal too. Why is Ohtani playing, but they're not letting this kid play? So I think I'm trying to remember too. There was a report a couple of weeks ago too that one of the NBA coaches was getting upset.
Staff with the Cavaliers.
Yes. Colin knows where I'm going, where he said he's getting tired of people yelling from the crowd saying, hey, put in so-and-so so you can help me win this bet or something. So, like you guys said, we all are at the fingertips now where we can make in-game betting. So,
not out here in California, sadly.
Yeah. Minnesota the same way, unless you get I think it's Prize Picks or something, but yeah, I just think it's wrong choice at the wrong time, I guess, for the guy. I mean, but again, if the sports are allowing this to be part of society now, I mean, maybe they need to write more in the bylaws which players can't bet on any games during their in-season play. Maybe that's something they need to do. They can only bet when their season's over, no matter if, baseball overlaps with basketball or basketball, hockey overlaps with football and stuff like that. So, we'll see where it comes. But, yeah, it was kind of shocking news this morning when I saw that.
I think it's only applicable that you say you can wager, but you cannot gamble or bet on any basketball, NBA, the WNBA, college, the G League. Like, you can't wager on anything pertaining to your sport in general. And I think that right there would probably maybe perhaps like send a message. But even then, I think that they still like Porter and Ohtani are so they're not fully similar, but they're pretty damn close to like there's a fall guy involved in some capacity, whether it's Mizuhara with Ohtani or what ESPN was reporting today, that Jonte Porter had someone making the bets for him while he's in the G League, like still within the NBA family of leagues between the G League, the W, and then, of course, the NBA. That right there, I think, does warrant punishment, lifetime ban maybe, or even a half-season suspension like Shane Pinto, as I mentioned with the Ottawa Senators. But I would say it's clear as day. You can wager. You just cannot bet on your particular sport. From the college level up, you can't be wagering on, MLB games if you're a baseball player, or even on the minor leagues. You can't wager on, other hockey leagues or other soccer leagues if you play soccer. Like, you're allowed, like, I would let you bet if I was commissioner. Like, you can bet and wager. You cannot, though, be wagering on the sport that you are playing in and representing our league logo with, because then it's going to make us look bad if something like this does come to fruition, where I have to basically come in and say, you are now officially barred for life from the National Basketball Association because you, in a way, and Brandon talked about this, I think someone brought it up here in regards to, the Ohtani situation, you start worrying about the dreaded words of integrity of the game. And I think that's where I would go, is that you can wager, but you are barred from wagering on the sport you're playing in. You can wager on football if you're not a football player, but you cannot be wagering on it if you are, in fact, in that particular sport. And I know Sarge is asking, what if he betted on them to win? At the end of the day, I still think, though, even if you wager on your team to win, you're still betting on your team in some capacity. So we'll see. I don't know. Just the whole Ohtani thing in this story is just what the sports world does not need right now at this point in time.
No, I get it. And I think that the other thing that you can sit here and kind of talk about, and we don't need to spend, a lot of time, because we have other topics. But I was saying, like,
yes,
this stuff, if this stuff becomes, legal, let's say that Adam Silva comes out and says, hey, we're going to make it legal, that we'll be the first, sport that makes it legal for you to bet. So you've already given this guy an indefinite lifetime ban in the NBA. So if
now
you make
all of a sudden
legal,
it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. So does that mean you go back to Javonte and be like, hey, you can come back now?
I mean, if that's the case, maybe. And, Sarge is saying he needed a fall guy. Tim, I just said that he had a fall guy because he had someone making bets from while he was playing in the NBA G League.
Yeah.
That right there, again, is talking about integrity of the game and the fact that he only plays 5 or 6 minutes and it hits the under, and all of his other stats hit the under. That raises the red flag at the, with this betting firm in Vegas who told the NBA front office, hey, we're kind of suspicious here. We have the red flag raised on Jonte Porter of the Raptors with 2 separate games he played against the Kings and the Clippers where, he was, a lot of wager. Like, I think there was $1 million wagers placed by this, fall guy for him to wager on his stat lines with the Raptors. So, it may have been an inside job, but again, at this rate, I think the punishment, he got caught in some capacity, and right now he kind of has to just deal with botching his career at this stage of it right now at this point in time.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad because he's so young.
Agreed. It's sad.
Yeah, and I
think it's sad, though, again, like I said, I think it's just sad for the sports world that we've had 2 gambling-related stories in the past 2 months pop up all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot more, too, so.
Oh, yeah. We're nowhere close to being out of the woods yet with that.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on to our next one, we're going to actually talk about, interesting enough, the Falcons and Bill Belichick. And the reason we're talking about this is because, so apparently Belichick did interview for the Falcons job, but Robert Kraft and apparently like the Kraft family reached out to Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, and told him and said, hey, don't trust Belichick. To me, that's interesting. When they're coming out and saying don't trust Belichick, because Belichick got them 6 rings as a coach. So it was the most interesting thing when I read that I'm like, why would the Crafts now come out and simply tell everyone don't trust Belichick, don't hire him as your head coach? That perplexed me. What's up, Tanner? So anyway, yes, exactly. So, Callan, what are your thoughts on basically, the Crafts coming out and telling the Falcons owner to be like, don't trust Belichick?
I'm very perplexed, honestly. But again, we don't have the credentials to go behind closed doors and see what actually went on, though, during Bill's time with the Patriots. We only see the on-field success of him and Brady, turning around a mediocre franchise who moved in from the American Football League, changed their name, got a new stadium in the suburbs of Boston, and turned a sports city on its head with their 6 championships in the Patriot way and, the whole do your job slogan. But now, though, that Arthur Blank, I think that Belichick was like, what, number 1, number 2 on the Falcons depth chart for the coaching position. And then Arthur Blank seeks the recommendations of Robert Kraft, and the Kraft family says, don't trust Bill Belichick. That probably, I think, goes to the point, though, that Bill had so much control over player personnel. I think he was like de facto GM and had the final say on what they would do with, on-field talent, that it's almost like, you really don't want to have like toxic, like having a toxicity in the front office or with the field right now. But I'm actually very surprised, though, that this sort of news came out, though, regarding Kraft and Belichick. But again, like I said, though, guys, we don't know the full story of what goes on behind closed doors. Like, we don't know that teams are having bickering battles in the locker room or closed door meetings, or what is going on between the ownership and the de facto GM, like Belichick, and him being the head coach, though. But certainly, I think, though, it's a very fair comparison, though, that you have success, you have a great run, and it's almost like those great tag teams in professional wrestling. Like, they have those great runs, guys, and they just get tired of each other, and they have their feuds, and they break up and go their separate ways, and they have false count anywhere matches, and they settle their feuds in some capacity. That this kind of, I think, reached that point, though. But for the fact, though, that Bill Belichick, like the greatest coach in recent NFL history, maybe even of all time, with his championships, not being trusted by his own ownership group going into a potential, new chapter of his career is just very mind-boggling. But again, what really went down behind closed doors that we don't know? Was there some big blow up that happened when Brady retired the first time? Did it come down to last season in regards to, Mac Jones didn't play well and he got hurt, and then they went to like 2, 3, 4 different quarterbacks? Did the first reality check of not winning Super Bowls and losing finally make the Kraft Belichick relationship fracture and then blow up to pieces? That could be a very valid point, but at the end of the day, who knows?
Yeah, because there was a lot of previous reports that I read about that Belichick was never a big fan of Mac Jones originally. Anyways, he didn't really want Jones. It was the Crafts that indeed wanted Jones, and Belichick didn't, and they kind of forced Belichick.
Clashing of heads.
Yeah,
Clashing of heads.
It was that clashing part. And so maybe it's kind of like you said, maybe Belichick had too much control at some point. And I don't know. That's why these situations are so hard, because you don't know what happened. All we know is that the report's coming out and saying that they told Arthur Blank not to trust him. And so there's something there. So Big B, what is your thoughts on the situation?
That's, kind of ironic that, good that they reached out to the Kraft family, Kraft ownership, and, asked them what their thoughts are. And I think it was kind of gutsy for Kraft to say, don't trust them, because now that might give Belichick a little ammunition on a lawsuit or something, detrimental to character or whatever. But maybe they could have said, hey, you know what, I wouldn't trust, or maybe they said, maybe I don't trust them with full control of the team. Maybe as your head coach, yeah, that would be a great hire, but don't give them that final say, as Callan kind of stated. So, but that could be a thing too, where if Belichick really wants to get back into coaching, maybe he talks to his lawyers to find out what he can do, because in any job, somebody tells you don't trust that person. I mean, that's kind of misleading. And again, we weren't in the room when that was said. We weren't on the phone call or video chat, whatever they did. And again, I mean, I don't know if he'd be my first candidate after seeing what happened after Brady left, but again, we all know that he had the final say in a lot of personnel moves outside of the Mac Jones drafting. So, but I think Atlanta's better off without him anyways. So we'll see where it goes down the road here in a couple of years.
Well, we can see that somebody wasn't a Belichick fan.
I don't think I would say I'm a Belichick fan. It's just, I just don't know if I'm making that call, I'm going to give him, the head coaching job based on just what happened after Brady left. So, I mean, I'm definitely not getting full control.
Well, I don't know. I just there's something that went down. I think there was some kind of battling, clashing going on that's not been reported or whatever. There's definitely something, and it's whether it ever comes out or not is going to be a whole nother thing. It's just when I saw that article, I'm like, really? Like that? It was perplexing. It shocked me, and so I was like, yeah, we got to talk about it. But and Callan, I know you're not much of a football guy, but I still think that this is kind of a big thing to talk about. So
no, I mean, I definitely think it is, for the fact, though, of and I think, like I brought up the wrestling analogy, and it's like that great tag team. For me, it's like Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero. They had their run in 2005, tag team champions. Then by the time WrestleMania rolls around that year and Rey beats Eddie for like the 10,000th time in a row, and then they have the number one contender tournament. I'm at that show in San Diego where Rey's about to beat JBL, but Eddie gets him disqualified, and that's where the whole entire feud begins practically. They lose the titles to, Mercury and Nitro, and then they go their separate ways, and, Eddie still couldn't beat Rey till he beat him in a cage match. But again, it's like those great WWF, WWE tag teams that have a great, long, sustained run. Scripted or not, they end up getting tired of each other, start bickering and bantering, and they blow up. And then, like Tim said, it's just like the Rockers. It's like HBK and Marty Jannetty. They had their run, and they had their blow up and their feuds and whatnot going on. But, I think, though, to not trust Bill Belichick, though, is just very surprising for that to be said of, greatest coach of NFL history. But again, what really went down behind closed doors, as Brandon and I alluded to.
All right. Now we can move on to our next one, and this to me is fun. I love to talk about this stuff. So we have Caitlin Clark, who they're deeming as the savior of Indiana, and or you can even say, some have even said the savior of WNBA, that she's going to sell more tickets than almost anybody has in WNBA history. And this is all debatable. Like I'm saying Clark has talent. Okay, I'm not denying that in any way, but there has been big names that have come and gone in the WNBA, and whether or not she is going to be that ticket seller is going to be yet to be seen. So, Callan, do you agree with that Indiana saying that Caitlin Clark is the savior of Indiana and possibly the savior of WNBA?
I'm sick and tired of two things. I'm sick and tired of being sick, and I'm sick and tired of people who want to say that women's sports has to have a savior women's sports relevant. Did I not point out last week that all but 4 of their games are on national television next season? Did I not point out last week that teams have already sold out the Indiana games before she got drafted by in number 1 overall? Did I not mention that the Las Aces are moving their game in July to T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, where the Golden Knights play, to a 20,000 plus seat arena? And sick and tired of people wanting to crap upon women's sports in general. And like I said, though, all those NIL deals that Caitlin signed with in college are to her pro career in Indiana. So I'm sick and tired of people who all of a sudden have opinions about women's sports saying that she's the savior of the league. This league is adding a new area in 20. The commissioner says she wants at least 3 more teams added to make it a 16-team league by 2026. And they're looking at 6 different Eastern-based cities. So I really want people who don't know one thing about women's sports to shut their ass up and be quiet and worry about the NFL and worry about sports that they actually care about and not have these stupid-ass opinions, when it boils down to sports they don't care about and they just love to be trolls and keyboard warriors and basement dwellers at their mom and dad's house. But on the entire topic at hand, though, is Caitlin Clark has a lot to live up to because of what happened in college, but also that this has been a Indiana Fever franchise who has been stuck in the mud, though, since Tamika Catchings retired, I want to say, around 2015. They've garnered at least 2 or 3 or 4 number 1 picks, and they have not yet to bear fruit, though. But this is certainly a good starting point to get that team back on the, on the swing of things, basically, into the WNBA standings. But what, year one's going to be rough. Diana Taurasi said this during the Bird and Taurasi show during the course of the Final Four, that it's one thing to do it against 18-year-old college kids, but what about when you get to the pros against 35, 36, 37 years old, veterans like Taurasi and Candace Parker and Asia Wilson, for example, and other big-name stars who are out there. But it certainly, though, is great momentum for the sport, for the team, for women's sports in general. But I might actually go off the board, guys, and actually say that despite Clark going number 1, Cameron Brink, great career at Stanford, went number 2 to L.A. But I was more though, guys, shocked. Chicago nabbing Angel Reese, who we know had their, they had their big moment on the national stage in the title game a year or so ago with, the whole ring finger celebration after Clark did John Cena's You Can't See Me. But the Chicago Sky steal both Reese and Camila Cardoso out of South Carolina. And there was a little bit of some Twitter fun about, well, who's going to wear 10, because both players wore 10 at their respective universities. I think Angel took number 5, and I think Camila ended up taking number 10. But regardless, though, I remember, though, when, I remember the days of like when Candace Parker got drafted in 2008, and then when Brittany Griner got drafted, and Elena Deladon and Skylar Diggins-Smith. I remember the 2013 class more because that was the first year that I really think the WNBA got embraced, other than like 2008, or even when like Sue got drafted, DT got drafted, Shamika Holsclaw, Tamika Catchings, all those big names got drafted. But like 2013, I felt like was a very big like starting point to like this league is becoming relevant amongst some sports circles. Now, again, it's a 12-team league going on 13 teams. And I know that people have been throwing around, the salary is, $55,000 for the number 1 overall pick for a 4-year deal. That's one thing. Caitlin just signed an 8. So all those spots, everyone. I don't like labeling. Yeah, we had Magic in back in the 70s and 80s. I don't hear people, saying that. They only look at women's sports like, well, it's sold out because all the seats are free, and things like that. But regardless, I don't really like the savior of the league tag being put on. I know she's great for the game and stuff, but I am not very. I'm weary about like savior of the league, because I think we could have said that about Holsclaw. We could have said that about Catchings back in the day. We could say that about Bird, how she helped save basketball in Seattle, how Diana Taurasi, put Phoenix basketball on the map when the Suns were terrible forever and the Mercury won 3 titles in their career. Candace Parker going to LA and winning 3 titles with 3 different teams with LA, Chicago, and Vegas. But I do agree that expectations should be high, but I don't like Caitlin Clark being called the savior of the WNBA. Like, this league is not going anywhere, whether people like it or not out there. They're adding a new team in the Bay Area, like I said, next season, and they're going to be adding like at least 3 to 6 more teams in the next 4 to 6 years on the East Coast or in the Midwest. So, hate all you want. Women's sports aren't going anywhere. So go back to the basement and shut up, for God's sakes. Good Lord.
Exactly, and that's like, I agree with what you're saying, and then I even agree, with the comment that Christy was making about, how Diane Taurasi was a big deal when she got drafted. I feel like there's always somebody new that is like projected as like, this is the next big star. This is the next big savior. So there's going to be somebody that comes in after Clark, and they're going to say that same thing about her. It's a never-ending process.
It's a never-ending cycle. I mean, let's just real quick, Adam. Let's just think back to when they put LeBron James, his freshman year of high school,
exactly,
on the cover of SI. Here's your next savior of the NBA. Do all these leagues need a savior to like keep the sport relevant? These sports are all going to be relevant whether or not that LeBron James or Callum McClurg Jr. go pro. Like, we don't need to keep this narrative going every damn year when some new hotshot A1, and one or Instagram reel freaking superstar comes on our timeline somewhere. Like, give it a rest, please.
Exactly. All right, so Big B, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Callan on, does every dang sports team sports league need that savior? We're going to hear about it here next week with the Bears. If they draft Caleb Williams, he's the savior of the Bears. We're going to hear it in Minnesota, if they draft, one of the top 3 quarterbacks. Sports don't need that. I mean, yeah, maybe the franchise does or whatever, but I mean, I'm so tired, just like Callan said, tired of hearing that these guys are the next, savior or whatever because of how good they were in college. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. I mean, I hope she has a good career because I think Callan just alluded to it. I think Indiana sold out every home game so far, all the season ticket sales.
Now, every road game's been sold out for them in every other market in the league, and teams have actually moved their games. Like I said, the Aces, back-to-back defending champs in Vegas, are moving their game like early July from Michelob Ultra Arena at Mandalay Bay to the Golden Knights home venue to get like 20,000 plus people to watch her play that night.
Yeah. And I mean, when she comes here, I guarantee the Lynx are probably going to be a sellout. They'll probably have to open up more seating because I don't think they used the whole stadium themselves. So
they did in 2018 when I was there for the All-Star game.
I mean, one thing is I don't want to take anything away from WNBA, but I mean, it's probably a good thing. I mean, they again got another name to build around. Hopefully she keeps helping build the WNBA game. Just kind of like like Callan said, when LeBron went to Cleveland, kind of helped them out a little bit. Got a new face of the NBA. So maybe, hopefully, this will be the next generation. Cheryl Swoops, Rebecca Lobo. I know I'm missing some other NBA greats.
Lisa Leslie,
yeah. So hopefully this will be the growing point and help them keep expanding the league like they want to. So good luck to her. Good luck to Indiana. Good luck to the WNBA down the road.
Absolutely. I concur 110% with both of you on this. I do believe that the WNBA is going to only get bigger. And Chris Woodmansee, if I said that right, I apologize. He's saying, "What's up, Callan?" So I apologize if I said that name wrong. I do apologize.
No, I think you said Chris, right?
No, yeah, I said Chris right, absolutely, but the Woodmansee, I don't know if I said that part right. And so I do apologize if I got that wrong. All right, so going into our next one. Our next one is going to be about Giannis Antetokounmpo being out for the Bucks. Virtually all the playoffs. The Bucks are getting ready for life without Giannis in the playoffs, and we know how they have currently been playing in the regular season before it ended, how badly they were playing without Giannis in that lineup. And I know there's Bucks fans out there saying it's okay, we're going to be okay. I will politely tell you you're wrong. I'm sorry. Without Giannis, the Bucks are done. That's 100%. Like I'm saying that now. I will politely say you're wrong. You're entitled to your opinion, but you're wrong. The Bucks are done for without Giannis. So, Callan, do you 100% agree with that? The Bucks without Giannis are done.
As much as I have the Bucks as my adopted team in the NBA, because I know people who work for the organization, but I will absolutely concur with the ace of spades and square one that Milwaukee's done. What have they proven this season? They have proven that super teams don't work in sports. You can go and trade for Dame Lillard, but man, this team has just not been firing on all cylinders this entire NBA season. I mean, and the fact that they canned their coach in the middle of a great year for Doc flipping Rivers should tell you something. And now they get a young Indiana team who has been kind of in a way not afraid to take on the big bad Bucks or the big bad Celtics in the Eastern Conference. And again, I know that I talked about how the Pacers beating the Tim. Sadly, but it might be a good idea to probably keep quiet right now, sadly. But, Indiana wanted Milwaukee because of what had gone on with them, allegedly keeping the game ball when I believe Giannis broke the single game scoring record for a Bucks game in club history. And there's been a lot of beef, a lot of banter. I think the Bucks even said, get your popcorn ready when they put out the first round schedule. This might be the spiciest of the entire opening round matchups for the NBA postseason because you have two teams who obviously do not like each other. And the Indiana team is kind of in a way, they've had the Bucks number because Milwaukee has just not fired off on all cylinders. And again, I really question the mindset of the front office to can Aiden Griffin, who has a record. He cannot deliver in the playoffs. And you know damn well if you go to a game 7, you are going to suffer a loss because Doc Rivers does not know how to coach a game 7. So without Giannis, can Middleton and Portis and Dame somehow strap this team on their back to carry them through round 1 against this Indiana ball club who's not been intimidated by the Bucks or by the Celtics? Sadly, highly unlikely, and I hope I'm wrong.
Well, I know you want to be wrong, but I'm sorry, Callan. I don't think you're going to be wrong on that one either. Big B, your thoughts? Do the Bucks actually have a shot?
I mean, I hate to say that, yeah, they do have a shot. I mean, they're in the playoffs. So, I mean, you always have a shot when you're in the playoffs. Now, do they have a what's the word I'm thinking of? A fair shot? I mean, No, I mean I think we all can agree that the Bucks need Giannis. I think they built around him as their cornerstone. So they're only going to go as far as the bench can carry him, and if anybody can step up. So yeah, I mean it's a slim, and like Tim said, I know you guys covered it. Hiring Doc, I mean that was, I mean we're still kind of lost on why they fired the coach in the first place.
Why, man?
So there must have been something in the locker room that they needed to let him go for whatever reason. But outside of that, I hope they don't do good, because I want my T-Wolves to do good. I believe they're different conferences, but Minnesota's kind of facing the same thing injury-wise. Hopefully they can be healthy. But, as long as, we get a good playoff series, I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks fans should overly be upset at how the Bucks played. I mean, if it turns out to be a 4-game sweep, yeah, maybe they need to, get a little upset. But if it goes the distance, and they maybe squeak into the second round and then lose the second round, okay, I think that was a successful playoff run. So, but outside of that, you're in the playoffs now. You got a shot of going the distance.
Yeah. I wish I could agree with you on that part, but without Giannis, I don't see them.
Oh, it's going to be a battle. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be a battle for them. No doubt about it.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. It's going to be the biggest battle. The biggest thing is like, let's say for instance that they end up, and this is for the Bucks fans out there, right? That have said that they'll be okay without Giannis. For any Bucks fans that were saying that they will be completely okay, let's say somehow the Bucks end up playing the Celtics. Mm-hmm. Are you telling me that you're going to take the Bucks in that series?
Yeah, no kidding.
There's no way you would take the Bucks in that series.
I mean, and of course, the serious fans are going to say, "Yeah, I take my Bucks over anybody because they're my team." But I mean, I guarantee none of them are going to put down serious money on it.
No, definitely not. I don't even know honestly, I don't even know if they'll get past the Pacers, honestly.
Oh, you're probably right. I mean, they're probably not going to get past the Pacers, so we definitely will see where they go.
But I am looking forward to seeing some more NBA playoff action. I'm looking forward to it. Okay. We know that the 76ers and Heat were locked in a battle tonight. That was an absolute great game.
Yeah.
The 76ers were able to pull that one off at the very end there. So with that being said, Callan is back. He is back. Yeah,
Had to go to the phone, but we're here.
He is here. So, our next part is we are going to talk about our Wheel of Death.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it is. It is our Wheel of Death. Our Wheel of Death is here. As we know, Crispy Bacon could not make it tonight, but he wanted everybody to know that so far he broke his team points down. And so he does have the Dodgers, so he's got 5 points there. He's got the Cubs, so he's got 4 points there. He's got the Nationals, he's got 2 points there. He's got the Rangers, he's got 5 points there. He's got the Tigers, he's got 3 points, and he's got the Blue Jays, so he's got three points also. So Crispy has a total of 22 points tonight. So far, 22 points.
Nice.
I went in and I researched my points, and I'm like, let's see what we have. So, I'm not sure how many total points Crispy's at so far, but we have to add 22 points to that one.
All right.
So 5, 10, 13.
What about
17.
Big Jim Games? Where is he at?
So far, I've got the Diamondbacks that has me 3 points. I've got the Braves that got me 5. I have the Brewers that got me 5. I got the Royals that got me 4. Shockingly, 4 so far. The Royals have me 4. The Astros have me 1. 1 freaking point for the
They're off to
Astros.
a horrible start to begin the season.
Yes, and then the Red Sox got me 3 because there's that massive cluster right now in the AL East. There's that massive cluster that is going on.
50 feet of crap, then there's us.
So we got 10, 14, 17, 20, 20. So right now this week I have 21 more points. So that to me is the total. All right, Big B, give us the breakdown of your points.
So let's see here. I did break them down. Where's my little cheat sheet I had? So the American League, I got all the second to last place teams. Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Oakland. So I got 6 points in the American League. I had the Rockies and the Cardinals at the bottom of the barrel. So I got 1 point there each. And I got the Phillies with 4. So I got a total of 12 points, 6 in each league. At least I'm consistent.
So Big B's got a total of 12 more. I didn't realize, honestly, Big B, I didn't realize how much crap your teams were. Like, really, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they're crap.
All-time low, baby.
I didn't realize that. All right, Callan, so how is your teams doing?
I'm trying to pull up the standings because I've had some tech problems during the course of the program. I'm trying to pull up the standings, but I know that Padres are in second still right now in the National League West. Cleveland, I believe, is in first in the AL Central. I think that for a fact. At least that's what I can remember. Mariners are scuffling. Pittsburgh's holding their own considering all factors.
Okay.
And then the Mets are the Mets.
Okay,
and
so you
Seattle and Baltimore.
Okay, so you have the Padres. The Padres are in second, so there's 4 points. Okay, and then you have the Pirates. So the Pirates are in third, so there's 3 points. You have the Mets. The Mets are in third, so there's 3 more points. You have Seattle. Seattle's in third, so there's 3 more points.
Jeez.
You have the Guardians. The Guardians are in first, so there's 5 points. And then you have Toronto, right?
Yes.
And then Toronto's in third, so there's 3 more points.
Give me all the threes. Good grief. So let's see. 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, 21, 24? 24?
So let's see. 3,
More than what I
8,
got.
11, 14, 17, 21.
Okay, 21. I think I had an extra 3 in there.
Yep, 21.
All right.
So 21 for this week. And now, James, I don't have...
Well, we know he has the Angels. That's one of his teams is the Angels.
And the Angels are in second, so that's 4. I know...
If I can get back into StreamYard and on my computer, I can pull up our picks again, but computer is not cooperating right now with me, sadly.
Wait, I think... Hold on. Actually, I can scroll up. I forgot I can scroll up in our chat, too. Because we did... Okay, so James's teams, he has the Giants. So let me go over here to...
They should be in fourth behind the Diamondbacks.
So, yep. So the Giants are fourth. So there is 2 points. Then James also has the Reds. The Reds are in 4th, so there's 2 more points. So that's a total of 4. He has the Marlins. The Marlins are in last place, so that's 1 point. So that's 5. So far in the National League, he has a total of 5 points in the National League.
I think he got stuck with the White Sox in the Central, I think.
Yep, and then he has the Angels, and the Angels are in 2nd place. So there's 4 points, so he's up to a total of 9. And then he has the White Sox, so they're in last place, so that's a total of 10. And then he has the Yankees, so he has a total of 15 points.
Wow.
So based off of everything there, if I remember the point total for everybody, after last week, Callan, you had 24 points last week. So this week, you'll have 21 more. So you'll be up to a total of 45 points total so
Sheesh.
far.
How am I going to choke this away?
Chris had 20 points last week, and he had 22 this week. So that brings him to a total of 42. I had 20 this week, 21, or 20 last week, 21 this week. That's 41. James had 15 last week, 15 this week. That's 30. And then Big B's at 24. So we have Callan in 1st, Chris in 2nd, Ace in 3rd, James in 4th, and Big B in 5th.
Just wrote it down so I can update the graphic for social.
Perfect. And you have the point totals, correct?
Yes, 45, 42, 41, 30, 24.
Yes. Perfect right there. So that is our Wheel of Death for the second week. And oh man.
Ay.
Big B is behind by a total of 21 points so far, behind Callan by 21 points.
Don't worry, Brandon. I'll find some way to blow it because it's all we do in San Diego. We blow our chance to have nice things.
So based off of that, before we go ahead and wrap this up, so Callan, give me out of your teams your most surprised team right now, whether bad or good.
Ooh, I would probably want to go with the Pods because of the fact that so many question marks with the payroll, moving a shortstop in Jackson Merrill to the outfield, rotations held up, bullpen's been great this year. So they might be my surprise, but other than them, I would probably go with probably Pittsburgh. We talked about this in our group chat that the Pirates right now, they may fade off eventually, but they're holding their own right now. So I'd probably go with Pittsburgh. That'd be my final answer is Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. All right, Big B, out of your team, either good or bad, or the crap that you have. Who's probably the most surprise for you so far?
I'm surprised I got any points right now. I know St. Louis is kind of rebuilding. The Twins are the Twins. So I can see them kind of maybe stepping up here sooner than later. But we'll see where that goes. Colorado's not surprising me. Oakland's not surprising me. I guess I'm kind of surprised how the Twins are doing. But I did pick them to struggle a little bit, but I didn't think it'd be this bad. And then National League side, Phillies, the Phillies. They always seem to put up a good fight with the Braves and stuff. So maybe, I can't really say I have a bad surprise on how bad a team's doing, but just I guess I'm more shocked where I guess not shocked, but just how the Twins are just struggling all around. I didn't think they'd be battling for first right away, but I didn't think they'd be battling for sitting in last place though either. So,
All right. Out of my surprise teams, I definitely have to go with on the AL side. I definitely have to go with Houston. They are just a mess right now.
Houston, we have a problem. Over.
Yeah, they are a complete and utter mess. I was not expecting them to be sitting in last place right now with 6 wins. That is something that I never saw coming. So that is probably the biggest shock on that one. On the NL side, I would definitely say right now that my biggest shock would probably have to be Milwaukee because they had gotten rid of like a bunch of their pitching, and so people thought, hey, they lost some big name pitchers, and it's like nobody expected Milwaukee to be on top. I didn't expect them to be on top right now either. Whether it's sustainable is one thing, but for right now, they're probably my biggest surprise. All right, well, we definitely want to thank everybody for watching. We'll get our final thoughts here. So, Big B, what are your final thoughts for the evening?
thanks for everybody joining. Keep checking us out. And I really hope the NFL has something big planned for the young gentleman that passed away today that was predicted to get his name, or hopefully get his name called this weekend. Either they honor him like they've done in the past, I think, or maybe the NBA's done it in the past and make him an NFL selection.
Honorary league
Or if somebody, or if they talk to some team, yeah, or if some team, that has maybe a couple later picks, takes him and gives him an actual team. So thoughts and prayers out to his family. But outside of that, just keep checking out C2C all week long. Tuesday nights, C2C Rankum will be back again with myself and Tim Hendricks, and next week will be our NFL first round coverage. So have a good day, guys.
All right, Callan, final thoughts for you.
Yeah, glad to be back. Sorry for the tech problems. Thankfully, got the StreamYard app downloaded so I could hop in at the very end of the program. Press Row should be back on tomorrow around noon or 1 o'clock Pacific time. We'll talk more about Jonte Porter. We'll talk about the very unfortunate end of the road for the Arizona Coyotes in the NHL. We have more news to break, a very thorough article that was put out by ESPN.com's NHL writers and other things going on with sports business and sports media. Want to make a quick schedule note because of how I've been feeling. And also going forward, we're going to be putting Press Row back to a 1 day a week show on Thursdays. And also with the fact that Between the Ropes has moved to Sundays, myself and James right now are going to work on trying to make C2C at night every Tuesday night show at 10 o'clock Pacific time to recap the day in sports and stuff like that. But again, going forward, Press Row's back to 1 day a week starting next week on Thursdays. Again, noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll still sprinkle in some other days, but with work winding down, my health right now, again, been battling this very, very lengthy sinus infection for the past week plus. Trying to just, rest, recoup, get back to 100%. And either way, we'll be back with you folks tomorrow. Again, we'll talk more, as I said, about Porter, Jonte Porter's gambling issues, the NHL going to Salt Lake City, effective, I believe, tomorrow, is when we should probably hear the official news of that relocation coming to fruition and other things going on in sports business and media. And we'll go from there. And yeah, always nice to be on here and talk some sports as always.
All right. And we definitely want to thank everybody for watching. And we will see you all next week for another episode of Sports Minute. Have a good night, and we'll see you around.
Peace.
Peace. I'm out of here.